Saturday. Harriet called. I'm going to make you wait for what she said, because if I tell you right now, we'll spend the whole episode on it. And I want to tell you about Saturday first. Because Saturday in this city is its own thing, and it deserves its own treatment. And also because making you wait is a little bit enjoyable, and I'm only human. Saturday. Saturday is the day the city becomes a different city. Not a better city, not a worse city. A different one. The midtown machinery, the suits and the briefcases and the urgent walking, and the sense that commerce is the natural state of the world, and anything that isn't commerce is interruption. The machinery stops, or at least idles, and what you get instead is the city without its purpose, which turns out to be the city at its most itself. People walk slowly on Saturday. I want you to understand how radical this is. New Yorkers do not walk slowly. Walking slowly in New York is a provocation. It is something tourists do, and something that the people behind the tourists have feelings about. But on Saturday, with the work done and the week behind, and the specific permission of the day landing on the city like a change in weather, on Saturday, people walk as if they have somewhere to go, and don't particularly mind when they get there. I am in Central Park. I come here on Saturdays when the weather allows it, and when the weather allows it, in my definition, is more permissive than in most people's definition, because I have a fairly high cold threshold developed over 32 years of New York winters, and a philosophical belief that outdoors is always preferable to indoors when the air is not actively trying to kill you. The air today is not actively trying to kill me. It is cold and bright and smells of fallen leaves and the park's specific combination of nature and city. The trees doing their tree thing, and underneath it, the distant sound of the traffic on the perimeter, which never quite disappears, which is the city's way of reminding you that even here, even in this, it's still there. I have a bench. Not a specific designated bench. I have no papers on it. The city hasn't assigned it. But it's mine in the same way the corner table at Manny's is mine. I've sat here enough times that when I arrive and it's occupied, I feel a mild surprise, a gentle territorial observation that I keep to myself and then find somewhere else. Today it was unoccupied, the universe providing. I bought the roll from Mr. Goldstein on the way. He had the rye, but also had a very good-looking roll that he described as something new, with the pleased expression of a man who has been doing something right for years and has found a way to do it slightly more right. I got the roll. It is excellent. Now, Saturday in 1947 and the things that happen in it. I want to tell you about the park, because the park is one of the things 1947 has gotten unambiguously right. Not all of 1947 is right. I've mentioned several things that are wrong, and I'll mention more. But the park is a pure credit on the ledger. Central Park on a Saturday in November it's the city revealing its best impulse. The impulse that said, we will take this enormous piece of land in the middle of the most valuable real estate on Earth, and we will make it not buildings. We will make it a place where the city can go to be outside itself. We will make it available to everyone, which in this city means everyone. The woman in the mink on the path to my left, who is walking her two small dogs with the practiced authority of someone whose entire morning is organized around this walk. And the three boys running ahead of their mother on the path to my right, who have the energy of people for whom November cold is pure acceleration. And the old man on the bench 2 benches down, who is feeding pigeons with the deliberate generosity of someone who has made peace with the pigeon situation in a way that most New Yorkers haven't. The pigeons, I should say. The pigeons of New York are one of the funnier things about this city, if funny is the right word. They occupy a specific relationship with the humans who live here that is unlike the relationship between humans and any other animal I can think of. They are everywhere, and they are ignored so consistently that the ignoring has become a form of acknowledgement. You know the pigeon is there. The pigeon knows you know. You both proceed. The pigeon is not impressed by you, and you are not impressed by the pigeon. And in this mutual unimpressedness exists a kind of dignity that I find oddly moving. The man 2 benches down and his pigeons are currently in their Saturday moment. He has a bag of bread. The pigeons know about the bag of bread. There are approximately 15 pigeons in his immediate vicinity, and the number is growing, because pigeons communicate the existence of a bag of bread in some way that I have never witnessed and that science has not fully explained to my satisfaction. He throws a piece. They converge. He throws another piece. This could go on for a while. I watch them and I eat my roll, and I think about Harriet's call. And then I decide to make you wait a little longer. On the way to the park this morning, I had an encounter. Encounter is maybe too dramatic a word for what it was, but the usual word isn't right either. Interaction sounds too transactional, and experience sounds too significant, and meeting implies a level of mutual intention that wasn't there. Let's say, something happened on 6th Avenue at 10:15 this morning that I want to tell you about. I was walking north on 6th Avenue, heading for the park, moving at my Saturday pace, which is noticeably less purposeful than my weekday pace, but still recognizably a New Yorker's pace rather than a tourist's. I was wearing my good coat, the button re-sewed and holding, and my navy hat, and a general feeling of it being Saturday that I believe was visible to anyone paying attention. A man stopped me. Not that kind of stop. I told you about that kind of stop on Tuesday, and this was not that. This was a different kind of stop entirely. He was about 55, with silver hair and a very good coat, and the kind of face that has been told things by a considerable amount of life, and has incorporated those things into an expression of general, benign interest in the world. He said, "Excuse me, are you Vera Lane?" I said I was. He said, "I saw you in The Arrangement last spring, the Thursday matinee." The Arrangement was a production at the 47th Street Theater in March and April, the one where I play the sister, the supporting role, the one who has 10 scenes and makes each of them count. Not the lead, not the marquee, but 10 scenes done well, which is what you do when you have 10 scenes. I said, "I was in that, yes." He said, "My wife and I, we were in the second row. She turned to me after your third scene and said, 'Keep your eye on that one.'" He said it the way someone says something they've been holding on to. Not urgently, not with the quality of a person desperate to deliver a compliment, but with the simple intention of completing an errand, of giving something back to the place it came from. I said, "That's very kind. Please thank her for me." He said, "I will. I'm sorry. I just wanted you to know that she was right." He nodded pleasantly and walked on. That's it. That's the whole thing. He didn't offer to put me in a picture. He didn't have a card to hand me. He didn't have any professional interest or angle. He was a man on 6th Avenue on a Saturday who saw something in March and felt, 7 months later, like completing the delivery. And I want to tell you what that felt like, because it felt like something specific. It felt like proof. Not proof of talent, exactly. That's not for strangers to validate. That's something you know or you don't, that you're working toward or you've arrived at, or some combination of both. But proof of contact. Proof that when you do the work, the 10 scenes, the third scene that his wife noticed, when you do the work from the right place, it goes somewhere. It lands. It stays with someone for 7 months, and they carry it across the city and give it back to you on a Saturday morning. That's what the work is for. That's what I said to Elise on Wednesday. And here it was on 6th Avenue, walking north in a good coat, making itself real. I don't take this for granted. I said thank you again, to the air on the sidewalk where he'd been, after he was already gone, because some thank yous need to be said even if there's no one left to hear them. Okay, the funny things about Saturday in 1947. I owe you funny. First, shopping. Saturday is the day women go shopping, which is both a thing that genuinely happens and a thing that has been elevated in the culture of 1947 to something approaching a civic obligation. The magazines, and the magazines of 1947 are a thing I could talk about for the entire remaining episode. The magazines suggest that the Saturday shopping expedition is a leisure activity, a pleasure, something you do in the context of enjoying your freedom. The magazines are not wrong, exactly. But the magazines also don't mention the corset. The magazines don't mention the shoes that hurt at Block 7. The magazines don't mention that the shop girl at the department store who shows you the hats has been on her feet since 8 in the morning and has heard the phrase, "Do you have this in blue?" approximately 200 times today, and is performing her helpfulness with the specific commitment of a professional actress doing their 8th performance of a run. I see you, shop girl. I see the performance. I respect it. I don't go to department stores much myself. I go to specific places. Mr. Goldstein's for the bread, the bookshop on 55th Street for the books, the tailor on 48th Street who has been letting out and taking in the same gray dress for 3 years, and who does so without comment, because he understands that bodies and circumstances change, and the dress is a good dress and worth maintaining. But today, after the park, I went to Saks. Not to buy anything, or not with the intention of buying anything. The intention was to walk through and look at the things in the window from the inside. Which is a thing I do sometimes, the kind of window shopping that happens to be indoors, which is technically just shopping but without the financial component. Saks it's an experience. Not because of what it sells, though what it sells is beautiful in the specific way that expensive, beautiful things are beautiful, which is with a seriousness about their own quality that is almost convincing. It's an experience because of the atmosphere, the light, the specific quality of air in a place that has been designed to make you feel that acquiring the things inside it would improve your life in some meaningful way. The light in Saks is very good. I want to be clear, the light is doing something. It's not the light of Manny's, honest and functional. It's not the light of the rehearsal room, unforgiving and fluorescent. The light in Saks is aspirational light. Light that makes you look like the version of yourself you're working toward. I have looked in the mirrors at Saks and seen a woman who could absolutely afford everything around her, which is an illusion the light is entirely responsible for. I tried on a hat. The hat was pale green and had no practical application in my life whatsoever and cost more than my rent. It looked magnificent. I put it back. The woman at the counter, her name tag said Helen, not my Helen the operator, a different Helen, watched me put it back with an expression of professional sympathy that was entirely sincere. She's seen this before. This is the full experience, the trying on and the putting back, the joy of the thing without the consequences of the thing. I thanked Helen. She said, "Come back and see us." I will. For more hats I can't afford, and light that makes me look like my best self. Saks provides a service. I had lunch with my father today. Saturday lunch, which I mentioned. Saturday he calls me, but this Saturday I called him, because I had news to deliver or not deliver, depending on Harriet, and either way I wanted to see him. We met at a diner on Amsterdam Avenue. His territory, his neighborhood, his diner where they know his order and bring his coffee without asking, and where the booth by the window has been his booth since before I was old enough to remember my first visit. My father in a diner booth is a specific image I carry. He has always been a large man, not tall, but substantial, the kind of build that communicates the accumulation of years of working with his hands. The hands themselves are remarkable. They are the hands of a man who has done hardware for 30 years, which means they are permanently slightly marked by the work. Not dirty, never dirty. He was meticulous about clean hands, but bearing the specific callousing and weathering of a life spent handling the physical world. He was wearing his good coat. He wears it on the days he expects to see me, which is something I noticed a long time ago and have not commented on because some things are better received when received silently. We ordered. The food came. We talked about the Yankees. The Yankees are the foundation of most conversations with my father, the solid ground beneath everything else. I do not particularly follow baseball. I have learned enough baseball to have an informed conversation about baseball with my father, which is its own form of love, and I think he knows this, and I think he finds it both touching and slightly absurd, which is the right response. Then he said, "Tell me about the week." And I told him. Not all of it. Not Danny, not Friday's newsstand, not the complicated feeling standing at the bar. But the audition. Samuel Rubin. The fraction of a second in the thank you. He listened with his coffee in front of him, not drinking, just holding it, the way people hold things when they're paying full attention and the thing in their hand is an anchor rather than a distraction. When I finished, he said, "You did good." Not, "You'll get it." Not, "I'm sure it'll work out." You did good. 3 words that say, the audition, the preparation, the going in. That part is yours, and that part was right, whatever comes from it. My father has never been in the arts. He has never performed anything. He spent his professional life doing the completely practical and specific work of providing people with the hardware they needed to do the things they needed to do, which is about as far from acting as a profession gets. But he understood what he was saying. I sat across from him in the booth by the window and I thought, this man understood what I needed to hear, and he said it without theater. He just said it. That's where I get it from. Whatever the thing is that I walk into rooms carrying, the thing Jack says they're looking for, the thing that reads as knowing something, I think it came from this man in this booth with his good coat and his coffee and his 3 words. I didn't say this to him. Some things are better received when received silently. Okay. Harriet called at 8:30 this morning. 8:30. Which is early for Harriet, who is not a morning person in any documented sense. 8:30 means she had the information last night and held it because she was being kind, not postponing it, just giving me the night without it, and calling at the earliest decent hour this morning so I wouldn't have to carry the not knowing through a Saturday. She said, "Vera?" I said, "Tell me." She said, "They want you to come back." A callback. Not a yes, not the part. A callback, which is, they want to see more. Which is, they saw something and they want to see if the something holds, if it grows, if it's the thing they're looking for or something adjacent to the thing that they'd have to work around. A callback is not a yes, and it is so much better than a no that comparing the two is almost embarrassing. I said, "When?" She said, "Tuesday." I said, "I'll be there." She said, "I know you will." I hung up the phone. I stood in my kitchen for a minute. Then I went to the window and I looked at Mrs. Petrova's geranium, which is still there, which is still red, which is still impossibly itself in the November cold, still doing the one thing it's there to do. And I thought, Tuesday. Here we go again. I walked to the park after that. I bought the roll from Mr. Goldstein, who gave me the something new roll in addition to the rye without being asked, because Mr. Goldstein can read the energy of his regular customers, and the energy of a woman who just got a call back at 8:30 on a Saturday morning is, apparently, a recognizable energy. I walked to the park. I found my bench, and I sat here in the cold, bright November sun, and I ate the roll, and I watched the man feed the pigeons, and I watched the 3 boys run ahead of their mother, and I thought about Tuesday. Not strategically, not the preparation. That starts tomorrow. The real work, the specific new layer of preparation that a callback requires. Just thought about it in the way you think about something good that's coming. The awareness of it, the warmth of it. The fact that on Tuesday, I'm going back into a room where someone decided I was worth seeing again. That is not nothing. That is, in fact, quite something. Tomorrow is Sunday. Sunday is the quiet day. I'll tell you about the quiet.